Well, hi, a very warm welcome to Dusty Shelf. I hope I find you well, and as you can see, we're going to be talking about Thomas the Tank Engine. So last Friday, the 9th of May, was the 80th anniversary of the first publishing of the Thomas the Tank Engine book by Reverend W. Awdry. And yeah, 80 years, I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it? So 1945 for the first publishing. And been looking on the internet this week, and yeah, there's lots of posts, lots of videos on YouTube, people sharing their stories about Thomas the Tank Engine and how important and special the series has been to those of us that enjoy railways, particularly model railways. Now, I am going to share a little bit of my collection, if you like, of Thomas the Tank Engine bits and things that are important to me, but I'm not going to go so deep into, you know, the history of Thomas the Tank Engine in the books, etc. I'll talk more about the 00 gauge models, particularly from Hornby. Now, as you saw from the thumbnail, the £1,000 model. Well, genuinely, there is one of these for sale at the moment on eBay for just over £1,000, which is crazy by any stretch of the imagination. But having had a look, one of these did sell for £250, so they obviously are quite sought after. I will come back to this one, but first I just want to go through a few of the other models I've got from the Thomas the Tank Engine range, talk about their prices a little bit and why some of them are quite collectible. Give you a little bit of a laugh about the mistake that I once made with one of the Thomas the Tank Engine models. Quite a costly mistake, but we'll come back to that. And then finally we'll come back to this model and do a proper unboxing on it and have a look what's so special about it, and yeah, as I say, discuss this and yeah, Reverend Awdry's actual Thomas the Tank Engine. Well, my kids are somewhat grown up now, and it's been many years since this range of Thomas locos were used. But back in the day, I did pick these up, and I had a layout in the garage, and yeah, we would go and play trains. So you know, all of these are well loved, well used, and they're certainly showing their signs of age. Now, I don't particularly want to get into the history of each of the models, as in, you know, where the moulding came from and when they were released. I think that's for another time. This is really just about how some of these have become a little bit collectible and others haven't. But anyway, on to Thomas Loco itself. So you'll see all of these are Hornby. So Hornby owned the franchise back then. It's now moved across to Bachmann, so it's Bachmann producing the Thomas range. Now, I've not bought any of the Bachmann models, one of the main reasons being the Bachmann models are supplied in a blister pack. So plastic packaging that sort of hangs on the, you know, the sort of, I can't think of the point of sales kind of packaging. And for me, you know, it just makes these trains look even more like toys than they actually are. I do like the trains to arrive in a nicely presented box. At least they look like a loco rather than completely as a toy, which is how the Bachmann range appears to me. So I've not actually bought any of those. But talking about the franchise, I mean, it does bring me on to something a bit controversial. And I don't normally say a lot of controversial things on the channel, but I always find it a little bit upsetting that Thomas the Tank Engine and the other characters in the stories have now become a commodity that is copyrighted and protected and all the other things that go with selling a franchise, to the extent that the heritage lines no longer can run Thomas days without paying royalties, and all of the other little bits of that go with the sort of franchise. For example, I love theme parks, as you know. Those that watch the channel will be aware. But Thomas the Tank Engine, they're now Thomas lands in the theme parks, and the theme parks are very, very protective of Thomas as a brand. Which I find quite sad, because Thomas the Tank Engine has brought us, a lot of us, into the hobby. I'm sure a lot of us have sort of grown up with the stories, and, you know, certainly from my age group, you know, Thomas the Tank Engine was quite a big part of, you know, back in the 70s, 80s, you know, it was in the books, and then it moved on to the TV, on the TV series with Ringo Starr. So Thomas has been quite a big influence on my sort of journey, if you like, into model railways and into steam and into heritage railways. And I'm not sure whether that's still the case, and I just find it a little bit sad that Thomas is now not on the heritage lines, and the kids aren't getting to see a Thomas in full steam. All they're getting to see is a sort of cartoonish character rather than the big trains. I mean, I know as I walk around some of the train fairs, you know, when Thomas the Tank Engine makes his way across the layouts, the kids' faces all light up. They all shout out Thomas and point, and it would just be nice if, you know, the heritage railways could still do that. You know, to run a Thomas, a blue train with a face on the front with number 1 on the side, call it Thomas and have a Thomas Day without yeah, having to pay massive amounts of royalties. So there you go. I just thought I'd add that bit in. Just my opinion, but I'd love to see Thomas sort of a little bit more open, if you like, but that's never going to be. Anyway, back to the models. So this one, well played with, missing one of the buffers, missing both the couplings, got a broken step on the back here, well played with, well loved. Pick these up, probably the Hornby ones, probably 20-30 quid in running condition. If you do want a new one, as I say, Bachmann are still running those. Also got Annie and Clarabelle to go with Thomas. There's Annie, and I'll just bring Clarabelle down, so I've got one on the shelf next to me. Annie and Clarabelle, these are probably about £5 each, so there's plentiful supply. And then the other smaller model that we've got here is Percy. And this lovely little model of Percy, complete with the vacuum pipes still attached. This one's done loads of miles. I remember this going around on the layout time and time again. Now both these models, they were sold in train packs, so you could get them with the track. I think there was a good set, and they also, one of them came with a controller that you it was like a radio controller, so you put a little house in the middle of the track, and Hornby did a remote control to control the trains. So yeah, these were produced in quite high volumes, and they're still readily available. I reckon this one probably 20-30 quid in reasonable condition if you wanted one of those. So not particularly rare or expensive locos there. Moving on to James. This one's a little bit more sought after. Now, tender driven. Now, my particular model, I put it on the track just before I started filming this video because I was going to see which ones were running. This one is creeping along, so it really does need a good service. I might do that after this video. But I got a little bit of chipping of the paint along the running board on the tender there, as you can see. But otherwise, it seemed quite nice condition. Now, James, these seem to be fetching anywhere between £60 to £100, depending on their condition and depending on whether it's boxed. Very basic loco if you have a look inside the tender there. Yeah, quite a nice little smiley face on the front there. Lovely little model actually, and I think these are probably 60 to maybe £100 depending on their condition. And yeah, these are quite readily available. Moving on to Bill and Ben. Now these, they seem to go for about £50 each, £50 to £60 each. There's two of them, they were twins in the series, but these were quite latter locos, if you like. But these were important to me because I've mentioned my grandfather quite a few times on the channel, but his name was Bill. These were actually his locos. So Bill was the one that he ran. So I've got Bill and Ben here, and yeah, the Bill one, I keep it in his box, as you can see, just as a little reminder of my grandfather, as you can see there. As I say, £60 each maybe. Then we got one of the first diesels. So this one is the good old triangle body on here, just with a face added on the front. These aren't particularly sought after. They're again quite readily available. I think these are about £40 to £50 in a running condition. This one runs quite nicely, again well used, but no real detailing on it. You see this is yeah, quite a nice little loco, that one. So moving on to the larger loco that we've got here, this is Gordon, the big engine, or the big blue engine. And on the back of the box here, you see some of the items that are in the range. So we've looked at James, we've got Thomas, Percy. I have got a Toby somewhere. I think I've got a Duck somewhere. Bill and Ben, this is Gordon. And then we've got the coaches here, and then at the end, this is the little radio control and sound system that I was speaking about a moment ago, and some of the other wagons. These wagons are still floating around, but I have those on the railway at the moment still. And the troublesome trucks, I've got a set of those as well. But anyway, let's have a quick look at Gordon. Now, Gordon is where the prices start to creep up a little bit. So it is just a straightforward sort of you know, A4 body on here, just with the face on the front of it. nothing particularly special. It is a tender driven loco, and I can feel this one hasn't been running many years. It certainly needs a service. Sorry, I paused there for a moment as the local ice cream truck went past. And yeah, so this one certainly needs a service. I can feel how stiff the wheels are. I mean, they're freeing up a little bit now as I'm moving it. But I mean, this probably, well, I know this definitely hasn't been running 15 years at least. And tender driven, as I mentioned. I just pull the tender out. This one's in beautiful condition. I don't recall running this a great deal, and yeah, it was a runner, but I think, if I remember rightly, the layout that I had in my garage at the time was very tight radius track, and yeah, Gordon struggled to make it all the way around, so got very little use back in the day. Now, these I've seen anywhere from sort of 130 up to about 160 pounds, which is an awful lot of money for, you know, for that loco. But with it being the big blue engine and painted up as Gordon with the face on the front, yeah, it still does appear to be one of those sort of sought after engines. Right, on to what I believe is possibly one of the most crazy prices, which is this. This is old slow coach. And again, on the back here we've got the whole range, exactly the same as what's printed on the back of Gordon, same locos that are on there. And old slow coach is a repurposed clear story coach with the glazing taken out the roof. There's glazing still on the sides, but it is probably about as basic as you can get, just with a grumpy face on the end. And believe it or not, that coach, £150. And they have sold for £150 when I had a look on the auction sites. There's a few for sale at the moment for 150, and they've sold 150, 160 pounds, which is an incredible amount of money for what is a very, very basic coach. And yeah, as I say, absolutely crazy prices. Now, onto my mistake. So let me just slide this one out the box. This one here is one of the diesel locos from the Thomas range, and was originally in green. And because I have daughters as well as a son, I painted this for the daughters to get involved. Let's push this out from the far side. And you can see I made a reasonable job of the painting in this sparkly purple colour. Put some little flower essence on the side, and we called it I forget what we called it now. I think we called it Daisy, although there is a Daisy in Thomas. And yeah, with the face on the front there, I sprayed up this loco, and the girls loved it and played with it, and it did quite a few miles around on the layout. However, this has actually become one of the more collectible models from Thomas. Now, I have no regrets in spraying it because, as I say, all of these aren't going anywhere. These are part of my collection. They're all well played with, they're all well enjoyed, and they will get enjoyed in the future. I know they will. So I've got no regrets in spraying this, but believe it or not, these are anywhere from 230 to 300 pounds if you can find one in the original green livery. And obviously, having taken it apart and sprayed it a different colour, I assume I've considerably devalued this somewhat. But you can't put a price on getting your daughters involved in models railways, can you? So yeah, certainly no regrets in spraying that, but a bit of a mistake, as I say. I think I've devalued that somewhat, and yeah, you can see all the sparkly stickers on the side. But yeah, that sits on the shelf, and it's quite a nice little heirloom. It's something I did for them, and yeah, as I say, well played with and well enjoyed. So talking of childhood, here's a couple of books from my childhood. These were actually mine in 1979 and 1980. So yeah, 45 years, 46 years respectively, and I've had them all these years. It's been years since I've opened them, and just sort of preparing for this video, it's fascinating to flick through these. You know, it's just a different time, isn't it? A little bit about Reverend Awdry in the front here. And I'll talk about the Reverend again in a moment, but meeting Thomas and a little bit more about Thomas and friends, about the engines. What else have we got here? A visit to Beer Heights Light Railway crossword. Clearly I wasn't into crosswords back then. This mountain railway from the Isle of Sodor. Then we've got here a diary of railway dates. So the first public goods line, the Surrey Iron Railway, right the way through to on the 18th of December, the City and the South London Railway opened. This was the first underground electric railway in the world. And there's a picture of locomotion running down the Stockton and Darlington Railway, just kind of crossing the bridge outside the Hopetown Museum. There's a video on the channel about that if you want to go and have a look around that area. It's I really enjoyed myself there. Article here on the Festiniog, showing some of the locos here in their green livery. And then the Iron Duke, which basically one of the small England locos featured in Thomas. Rhyming engines, again more railway dates. There's a couple of pages here about model making, and as you can see it really is a sort of typical annual of that era. And just seeing here the York's National Railway Museum. Look at the roof on the hall here. This will be the well, I was going to say this is the station hall, but I think this is actually the main hall. But here's a section loco, Ellerman lines, that's still in the museum now. I mentioned that in the video I did recently. On this side you can see the mallard there, and the reconstruction of the Gormless Bridge with the Chorlton Wagon on top. So this one is now up at Locomotion on the National Railway Museum second site. I've got a video on that coming up shortly. I'm in the process of editing that at the moment. But yeah, great to look through these again after all this time. Tally Inn Railway. Obviously Tally Inn is now where Reverend Awdry's layout is kept, and this is why I wanted to focus onto this book here. Now it's actually in the 1980s annual that there's the article that I wanted to speak about. So first of all, when I opened the book up, I saw this page here with a picture of Reverend Awdry there and with a signature. And I suddenly, my heart kind of missed a beat. I thought, wow, I've actually got a signature from, you know, my book's been signed, only to then find that this is actually printed. And yeah, it's all the books have this one. But yeah, for a moment I thought I'd got the Reverend's signature, which was quite amusing. But anyway, the bit that really caught my eye is these few pages, again talking about model railways, but this one is about the Reverend's model railway. And you can see here, here's Thomas model. Now, gonna go back right to the beginning where I said I've been watching various YouTube videos this week about Thomas and about the 80 years. And Sam's Trains has done a fantastic video where he talks about this specific model, Thomas, the actual Thomas, that was owned by the Reverend Awdry. If you haven't seen the video, go and check it out. It's, yeah, as always with Sam's videos, it's you know, absolutely superb. And he talks about this particular loco, which he had the honour and excitement of working on. Well, this is a fascinating article written by Reverend W Awdry, talking about his layouts. You can see here my model branch line, and the third incarnation was actually at the Alexandra Palace to the London Festival of Modelling earlier in the year. And sadly I ran out of time and I didn't get to spend enough time looking at it. It was only when I got home I realised what the layout actually was, and I'd missed out. So you can see up here Farquhar next to the Thomas that I just spoke about. So it does say here, basically it talks about the three layouts. So this is the third layout I've made for the Thomas branch line. The first had to be pulled up after only 3 years, and the second, and I showed the pages in the 79 annual, lasted for 15 years. And then it gives dimension in 6 feet by 4 feet in size. This one, which is the Farquhar line, my present model railway fits along one wall of my railway room and has much less scenery. It folds up to 3 feet 6 inches by 1 foot 6 inches by 9 inches and fits in the boot of my car. There is another piece called the Fiddle Yard, which at the exhibition is screened off. So basically, I love the way that, you know, this is aimed at children, but it's talking, you know, very precise measurements there on how the size of the layout is and how it fits in the boot of the car. So then it goes on to say, when you see the line at exhibitions, you see Farquhar Station, the village behind, and a tunnel through which the trains disappear into the fiddle yard. And then further on, it gives some of the sort of timetabling and the sequences that the railway used to run through. So sequence 1 begins when Thomas and Daisy come out of the shed at 6:30 a.m. for refuelling. So it's almost as if it's telling the story that you'd see in the Thomas the Tank Engine books, but obviously in the exhibitions would then be applied to the layout. And I do believe the guys from the Italian Railway read these sequences out now and then move the locos appropriately. But the bit that's really caught my eye in here is the bit about the actual Thomas. So going back to the, sorry, I'm just going to turn the page back again. So going back to this picture here with the Thomas that Sam focused in on, Sam's trains. The Reverend says, I bought Thomas in 1948 when I was writing Thomas the Tank Engine, Thomas Again. I wanted to start modelling once more after a lapse of some 20 years. Thomas was one of Stuart Reedpath's standard models with a heavy cast white metal body and was fitted with an ESSA chassis and motor. And then again, reminding you that this is a children's book. Stuart Reedpath is now dead, and his motors, let alone his spares parts for them, have been unobtainable for years. But Thomas still keeps going. He is, as you might expect from his age, a temperamental old gentleman and has to be driven very carefully indeed. And then it goes on to talk about the other engines. So I built Percy in 1949. The Aero wrote Troublesome Engines. Then Duck was bought as a spare engine in 1949. And then over the page talks about Daisy. Daisy was built while writing branch line engines. She was very easy to make. I brought a trying twin diesel car set, and all I had to do then was cut off the driver's end from the trailer car and cement it to the square end of a power car. What else have we got here? Mavis, Henrietta, Elsie, Toby's mentioned in here. It's just a wonderful piece of history, this, written by Reverend Awdry. And as I say, it's been on my bookcase all these years. It's just been fascinating to get this out and read through it. I'll just have a quick flick through a few of the pages here. So City of Truro there, Keighley and Worth Valley Railway. Again, more picture puzzles as they had the Isle of Man Railway. Some Thomas stories. Then a section on the North Yorkshire Moors Railway. You can see the pictures here. Shunting engines. Absolutely fascinating. So I mean, I'm sure you can pick these annuals up. Railway books are 10 a penny now, and you probably skip past these Thomas the Tank Engine annuals. But yeah, there's quite some interesting history in there, particularly the bits about Reverend Awdry. And I mean, these two will always be in my collection. I've had them for 45 years, so I have no plans on them going anywhere in the near future. So, having rambled on for far too long, let's get on to the Loco in question. So, this was released 10 years ago on the 70th anniversary of Thomas the Tank Engine. Limited edition by Hornby of 1,000 units, and has quite a unique finish on here. So, we'll just look around the box first of all. Again, on the sides, just got the 70 logo. Thomas the Tank Engine, limited to 1,000. Same on the end, same on the other side, same on this end. And then on the back here, the usual warnings, but I find it quite intriguing here. There's a warning. It says this product is not suitable for children under 14. So, yeah. Right, so let's lift the lid off the box. And first thing we're presented with a certificate. I'm going to be very careful with this. It says Thomas 70th Anniversary Solo Thomas Locomotive. Limited edition certificate for authenticity. Mine is 322 of 1,000, limited to 1,000. Nothing on the back there. Put that to one side. We've got standard Hornby instructions here with just the sticker on the top there, so nothing specially printed for Thomas. These are just the standard Thomas instructions. What was special about this Loco, and let's lift it out. Let me just slide the Thomas out of the box, and as you can see, it's got the metallic finish, and this one well, this has never been out of the box, so you can see the vacuum pipes are in there. Plastic couplings, no sprung buffers. It is, and I'll bring this back in, exactly the same as the standard Thomas, except for slightly blackened running gear and the chromed finish on the model. It even doesn't have the red lining on the back of it. But one thing is quite amusing is, whereas we've got a nice smiley face on the standard Thomas, on this one it is sort of has quite a surprised look. And I guess the only other thing to point out in terms of differences is we've got this little grey area on top of the running board at the front there, just underneath the smoke box. But other than that, they are, by all intents and purposes, exactly the same model, but just finished in metallic blue. So, is this really a £1,000 model? Well, absolutely not. Surely nobody is crazy enough to pay £1,000 for this. But as I say, they don't come up for sale. I've never seen one of these come up for sale. And according to, well, eBay, the auction site, the last one of these did sell, and it sold for £250. Now, when I think that a standard Thomas, probably about £50, that's still 5 times the price of this Loco. So, yeah, there's obviously something a little bit special about it, but I'm very lucky to have one. I mean, I bought this new from Hornby, and as a collector, as a Hornby collector, it's it's one of the important pieces that I wanted for my collection, not because of its value, but yeah, I was very surprised when sort of researching this video to see how costly these have become, and yeah, very, very surprised actually. Anyway, let's give it a run. Well, this will make you laugh. I just took this over to the railway, because I do try to film these a little bit in sequence just to help me with the editing. Put it on the track to run it round, and it's actually got 3 sets of flanged wheels. So the moment this got to a curve, it came straight off the track. It can't get round my track. Now, comparing it to the original Hornby, we've got traction tyres on the centre wheels, but they are flangeless, or at least very, machined back flanges, so that it can make it round the corners. Yeah, clearly these were intended as a piece of art, shall we say, rather than a usable Loco. Well, there you go, a few circuits. I've not pushed my luck with it and gone around too many times in case it does get damaged. But yeah, lovely little runner, like all Thomases. Just went round the track, no drama at all. Is it worth the money? Well, of course it's not. I mean, the one that's for £1,000, I can't see that ever selling. A bit like the Christmas wagons that get silly money put on them. But yeah, as I say, one of these did sell for £250. So yeah, what do I know? But for me, I'm just really pleased to have it in the collection, and I guess it's one of those Marmite models with the metallic finish. Either you love it or hate it. For me, I don't mind it. I think it looks quite good, and yeah, it stays in its box. Well, it stays in its box, I was going to say most of the time, but it just stays in its box in the cabinet. So it's one of those ones that I'm really pleased to have in the collection, and yeah, it's nice to see it running once in a while. I guess the final thing to say here is obviously happy birthday to Thomas, and thank you to Reverend W Awdry for sharing the stories of Thomas and his friends with us all and making the world a better place. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up, and please check out the channel, lots on there. If you can subscribe, I'd be really grateful. And with that, I'll just say thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.